Welcome to English 12. These are the policies and procedures. The first thing you need to know is how to get a hold of me. And so communicating with me is easy. We use Remind for almost everything. And Remind looks like this. I have a class set up for each period of the day. Also one for everybody. So most of the time I'll send out messages to everybody and it'll be just a simple little message that I type. It's anonymous, so you don't have my phone number and I don't have yours. Right now, my only participant is Gage, but everybody else will be in here too, and then I'll also put you into the other categories. So I can send out messages and you can send out questions to me and I'll answer them. Another way that you might get information or just see things that happen in our class is my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter. And they look like this. Here's my Instagram. And this is actually a picture of a piece of pottery that I made this summer. Not only was I pretty proud of my pottery, but I really like that picture. So sometimes it's stuff that happens in school. Sometimes it's stuff that happens in my life. Here's my Twitter. And there's also a Facebook page. And this is where I'll put a lot of the stuff there. And so those are ways that you can get updates as well. Okay, you can also email me right from School Tool. I don't know if you know this, but right in your schedule, on the Schedule tab, you've got a little email icon next to each teacher's name. And if you hover over it, it'll say Send Email. When you click on it, it'll actually set up an email and send it right from School Tool, and that'll come to me as well. Or you could just ask me a question right in class. The things you need for this class, basically you just need to bring whatever I give you. So if I hand out a book, make sure you bring it every day. You don't have to ask me if we need your book. You need your book every day. You should try to remember to bring something to write with, though I have that kind of stuff all the time in the classroom. And that's it. You don't need a special binder. You don't need lined paper or notebooks or anything. You just bring whatever I give you. Attendance is the biggest deal of all, though, here. So let's talk about that for a second. You should be in the classroom ready to start class when the bell rings. A lot of times I will start the minute the bell rings. So I'm not going to waste 5 minutes waiting for everybody to sit down and log on. So as soon as your last class is over, since you don't need anything from my class, you don't need to go to your locker. You can come right to H206 and sit down and log on. Please don't bring any food or drink in with you in the room. There's a space right outside the door to put things. If you're afraid somebody will take it or you want to keep an eye on it or whatever, you can put it on the file cabinet right inside the door, but nothing goes to your desk, not even on the floor. You should strive to be in English 12 every day of the semester, and this is a semester class, so there are 20 weeks. And to help you out with that, I'm going to give out some bonus points. So let me pull up a calendar here. So here's the calendar for September. Here we are on the 6th. I also have a giant calendar in the back of the room. You have calendars in Moodle. You have calendars everywhere. And hopefully you've got a planner as well. So to help you out with the fact that just showing up should count for something, for every 10 days in a row, 10 school days in a row that you're in class on time and you stay. Okay, you can't get up and leave for 20 minutes and wander around the building and come back. That doesn't count. And if you're absent for any reason, even if you're sick or if you're on a field trip or whatever, that doesn't count as a day in a row either. So that sort of evens things out. But for every 10 days in a row that you're in class, I will add a point to your quarter average. So let's say you're here today, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. On the day of the open house is our 10th day of class. And if you are in class on that day, I will make note of it and you'll get a point on your quarter average. And you can earn up to 4 points per quarter. So that's kind of a big deal. And sometimes it's the difference between a 61 and a 65 or a 94 and a 98. Okay, so that's kind of an incentive there. If for any reason you're absent or late, your count starts over. So if you're on time for 9 days in a row, but you're late to class on the 10th day, your count starts over and you don't get a point. If for any reason you're sent out of class, which is very rare, okay, I can count on one hand the number of times I sent people out of class last year. But if you're sent out of class for any reason, all your points are forfeited that you've gained throughout the quarter. The number one reason students are successful in this class is regular attendance. If you're here, it's very difficult to fail. So make sure that you come to class. Also in red here at the bottom, I have absence from class does not extend the due date for any assignment. So if something is due on Friday of this week and you're not here, it's still due on Friday. So you make sure that you get it in one way or another. Speaking of late or missing work, there's a typo in this next sentence, and so that's how I'll know that you watched this video, because you'll be able to tell me where the typo is. There is no such thing as late or missing work for credit. I don't take a certain number of points off per day or anything. Everything that's late or missing gets a 0 in your quarter average. So again, any late or missing work is a 0, or any late or missing work receives a 0. Those two words shouldn't be side by side. If something is due, I'll set it up in Moodle. It gets handed in electronically, except for the very first thing that you hand in is a piece of paper that you've signed. But everything else is electronic. It's typed. And Moodle will actually tell me whether it comes in on time or not. I don't even have to keep track of that. However, just because it gets a 0 in your average doesn't mean you don't have to do it or that you shouldn't keep it. Everything that you do throughout this course counts in your portfolio at the end of the class. So you should do and keep everything, whether you got a grade for it or not. Okay? And then if you miss a quiz or a test, you have 2 days to make that up, or 1 day here, I guess it says. Usually by the second day, we make sure that you and I have found a time. That's your responsibility to set up, not mine. So if the days go by and you haven't made it up, that becomes a 0. Plagiarism is something that I take extremely seriously, especially since we're on the computers. So I want you to understand exactly what it is. If you borrow an idea, a word, words, if you don't declare your source, if you have an idea but then you see that somebody else also has it, any of those things that you decide to use anyway, even though you know they're not yours and you didn't make them up, that's plagiarism. And of course, plagiarism is easy to figure out when it happens, and that gets a 0, no chance for makeup. And then of course, I have to deal with it like any other theft. So let's avoid that. And then same thing for cheating in class, looking at someone else's screen during a quiz, an assignment, a test, anything that's supposed to be just yours. And we work together a lot in this class, so there are lots of times when it's okay to work together and talk about answers and go over things and make revisions. But when it's not, I'll let you know for sure, and you need to do your own. And anything that I suspect or know that you have not done on your own gets a 0, etc. Computer use is something we do every single day. So you have to make sure that you understand the acceptable use policy, the acceptable use protocol. You have a copy of it in the handout that I gave you the first day of class. And every time you log on to the computer, you accept that policy. There's no getting around it. You're using equipment that doesn't belong to you on a network that doesn't belong to you. And so you use it for the reason that it's set up for. If you go around the filters, if you install things, if you make changes to programs or clog the network or the printers or whatever, you can lose your privileges to the equipment and the network, and then where are you going to be? Because you cannot pass this class without computer access. I give you access for free every single day in class, whether you have it at home or not. But even if you lose your access, you're still responsible for the work. You have to find a way to do it. Everything is graded on a rubric in this class, and I always give you the rubric at the beginning of the assignment. If you ever have any questions about the rubric, please ask them at the beginning of that assignment. And then most of the time, what you'll get back from me, you won't see a lot of writing or comments on your written work. You'll just see the graded rubric. And some of the rubrics that I have are interactive, which means that you can click on certain parts of the rubric to see how to make that little part better. So I'll go over that with you. Everything that I have graded will appear in Moodle and School Tool. Most of the time, I like to leave things in Moodle where only you can get to it until you've had a chance to review it and ask questions of me. Then I'll put them in School Tool. The reason I do that is because parents seem to be very eager to check seniors' grades over and over and over several times a day, and it shows us in School Tool who logs on and when. And sometimes they know your grades before you do that way, and I don't think that's fair. I think you should know your grades first and have a chance to understand them and then share them with your parents. When you get to college, or even if you go into a work situation or the military, your parents won't be there, and it's actually against the law in some circumstances for them to butt into your grades. So it's nice that you have a little practice with that this year. However, that means that you have to keep on top of things, and it's your responsibility to know when things are due and whether you've turned them in or not. And I'll show you how to do all that in Moodle. I won't go into this in too much detail. I'm not a math person, but I understand how this works. You have 2 quarters and a portfolio and a final exam in this class. So your 2 quarter averages count twice each, quarter 1, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 2. The portfolio and the final exam get averaged together, and that counts once. And the whole thing gets divided by 5. So for example, if you had 90 first quarter, 85 second quarter, and you had a 75 average for the portfolio and the final exam, all of that adds up to 425 divided by 5 is an 85 for the course. You only need 65. I do not believe this course counts in your cumulative average for class rank. So you do your best, but we don't quibble over single points here or there as long as you're passing. 20-week course. If you need this class to graduate, you take it very seriously, and that starts with attendance and ends with keeping track of all your own scores and grades. It is extremely important that you do all the assigned work on time. Remember, anything late or missing, anything late at all, gets a 0 in the average. And so you can imagine what that will do to your average. And you can make it up, but by getting better grades on other things, but it really puts a dent in things. So failure to complete all the assigned work will seriously jeopardize your ability to graduate with your classmates in June. Make sure that you're doing all your work all the time. Turn over a new leaf, start the year right. The very first assignment is to complete this page, and in your packet, it's the last page of the packet after the acceptable use policy. You print this information and this information, you sign it and date it. You have a parent or guardian sign it and date it. And then anything else that you need me to know that might not be in School Tool about you, or that your work habits, your preferences, things like that, you can put here. And return that page to me, please, by Monday at the end of the day. Everything in my class is due, unless it's otherwise stated in Moodle, at 3 o'clock. My room will always be open 10th period for you, unless I have some kind of a group in there, but there are always computers available. If you have any questions about any of these policies or procedures, or any of the information that I'm going to give you in class, please ask. Thank you, and I hope you have a great year.